Hello everyone, welcome at our presentation of Group 8. My name is Ruben Boogaard and my fellow team members Martijn Bakker and Menno, huisman, we will try to solve the main question of this week: what makes Toyota's supplier network high performing and how does Toyota achieve this outcome? And it's all about the main topic, competition within the Toyota group. Today's agenda will be a short introduction, then the first paper of Dyer and Nobioka, second paper of Wilhelm and Saido, and then we will integrate both papers, and finally we will conclude by answering the central question. The first paper of Dyer and Nobioka is a Toyota case study, and it answers the question how to create and manage a high-performance knowledge-sharing network. Well, this paper talks about network learning, so it's a relational view perspective. Value is created by within the network. It solves some knowledge-sharing dilemmas. Those are dilemmas which arise when companies want to collaborate on one hand and would also have competitive phases towards each other, and they present Toyota solutions for these dilemmas. And Wilhelm and Saido also have a case study, but it's more for car manufacturers, so it's also Toyota, but also BMW, Volkswagen and Nissan. And they have a paradox perspective, which means they also try to find alignment between the collaboration on one hand and the competition on the other hand. They try to find how to reduce competitive tensions between the buyers and the suppliers. And they think it's important that a firm has evaluative capabilities which basically means that a firm can distinguish how the cost patterns of the other firm are.
And now I'm going to tell you something about the paper from Dyer and Nobioka. In their paper, they present 3 challenges which a firm has to overcome in order to achieve an effective knowledge-sharing network. The first one being the ability to motivate members to share valuable knowledge. The second one, preventing of free riders. And the third one being reduce knowledge transfer costs. And how did they do that? In the top of this model, you see the 3 challenges, which all on its own lead to a strong network identity, which is essential in order to achieve a good knowledge diffusion, which is key for a successful knowledge-sharing network. In the paper, they show how Toyota overcome these 3 challenges, starting with the first one, the motivation to share. This really is regarding every party in the network is willing to share the knowledge that they have. And Toyota realized this by providing a subsidized network in terms of resources and the knowledge. They approached their suppliers and providing them with free knowledge in order to create some sort of locking effect, showing their suppliers that there's a really early on substantial benefit in cooperating with Toyota. Then they had to take care of the free rider problem. The free rider problem implies that there are partners in the network that don't make a significant commitment to the network, but still profit from the benefits that the network provides. So Toyota came up with very strong network rules that every partner has to be willing to share openly all the knowledge that they have, or otherwise there will be economic sanctions leading to exclusion from the network, which will be a big hit for a lot of suppliers. And the third one is the most important one in the paper, is the cost of sharing. This implies that every partner in the network should have a win-win situation in which it's willing to share the knowledge, and that this doesn't cost the firm but will yield some profits for the firm. Toyota has done it by providing a highly interconnected strong tie network in which the firm has a facilitating role. And how did they achieve this? First, they developed weak ties with their current suppliers, providing the knowledge, providing the resources, and they kept on doing it and building up a strong relationship with every supplier. After Toyota has developed strong ties with their suppliers, they started developing strong ties among suppliers, grouping them, forcing them to meet each other and share their knowledge among each other. And throughout this entire process, Toyota remains a central role. This eventually resulted in multilateral and bilateral communication. Bilateral communication meaning just between Toyota and the supplier, and multilateral between suppliers and Toyota. This gave them the ability to transfer tacit and explicit knowledge and even create tacit knowledge through multilateral and bilateral communication.
Yes, I will now discuss the 2 conditions that Wilhelm and Saido provided, being strong evaluative capabilities and reducing tensions by either the splitting and synergistic approach. Firstly, the evaluative capabilities, which basically mean that a firm is able to evaluate the price and cost structures of the supplier. They are really relevant to have for a company because they can help providing good suggestions for improvements of their processes, which in turn can decrease their costs. And if the intention of the buyer is to split the extra joint value that was created and the value appropriation is equal, then this also creates trust among suppliers. In turn, these trust of the suppliers will make it more likely that they have an open book policy, which in turn also can help to even increase the extra joint value that was created. Next, there is important to reduce the buyer-supplier tensions, and these tensions can occur when the buyer and supplier are, for example, talking about prices. There are two ways of doing this, meaning that there is the synergistic approach and the splitting approach. The synergistic approach basically means that they are accepting the paradox of competition on the other hand and cooperating on the other hand. This requires cognitive capabilities from those managers to limit the competitive tensions, but in turn can also increase the joint value that was created. On the other hand, you have the splitting approach, which means that there's a separation temporally, functionally, or spatial between the activities that can make it ineffective to work together with regards to the cooperation and the competition. This reduces the competitive tensions, but also means that there's less potential for the joint value that they can create. In this case, there were two car manufacturers, Toyota and Volkswagen, who were the most different in terms of how they did this. Toyota used a synergistic approach, whereas Volkswagen used a splitting approach. In the synergistic approach of Toyota, they are having long relationships with their suppliers and have high trust, and also collaborated to reduce the costs and share the benefits. This meant that the suppliers responded really positively and were very willing to open up for Toyota, and the reduced costs were much higher. This resulted in reduced negative tensions because the competition is really restricted, and they were much more focusing on cooperating together in order to increase the joint value that was created. And Volkswagen used a splitting approach. They really decoupled the development contracts from the delivery contracts and made it very competitive. And because it was very competitive, this also made the suppliers responding quite negatively because they were hiding their realized cost efficiencies. However, this also reduced their negative tensions, but made it more like a competition instead of really a co-opetition.
Then we found some linkages and differences between the articles. First linkage is that both articles rely on the relational view, so both articles think that through networks there's value is created. Also, both think that Toyota is a great example of how a knowledge sharing network should be, so they are really a positive example of it. Then some differences. Dyer and Nobioka, they really make a distinguish between tacit and explicit knowledge, and Willem and Saido actually don't do that. They don't really distinguish different types of knowledge transfers. Then Dyer and Nobioka have a major focus on positive and on the positive sides of the network, and little actually on the negative sides, while Willem and Saido also focus on the negative sides of competition. And Willem and Saido also focus on the bilateral communication and ties, and that's also something that Dyer and Nobioka doesn't. They only think about the relational view. Then we can finally answer the central question of this week, and the first is the what part. What makes the supplier network high performing? Well, at first, they really have an effective knowledge diffusion within the network. So it means that all the parties have multilateral relations and they want to share knowledge with everyone within the network. Also, there's network learning, so there's the relational view within the whole network of Toyota, and it's easy value localization. So within the network, it's easy for Toyota and for the suppliers to find where the value is for each other and for themselves. Then the how part, how does Toyota do that? Well, at first they have the synergistic approach. So they have multilateral connections and ties, and they really have all different kinds of groups who are able to communicate with each other. Also, Toyota has high evaluative capabilities, so they really can distinguish in a proper manner how their cost strategies are and where they can cut some costs. Also, they provide substantial early stage benefits to achieve commitment of their suppliers. So by sending consultants, for example, they really have a high level of trust. And as I already said, they have bi- and multilateral communication among suppliers. And that makes the answer of today's main question. So I really thank you for your attention, and hopefully this was a learning experience for you. Thank you, guys.